The porcelain margin can be an integral part of a premium porcelain restoration, maximizing aesthetics and oral health. The porcelain margin helps avoid metal visibility, tissue discoloration, and possible over-contouring at the gingiva. However, porcelain margins have always been known to be technique sensitive. Therefore, Ceramco has developed and patented a special carrier medium for its edge shoulder porcelain that makes creating shoulders easy, accurate, and fast. In this program, we will guide you through simple step-by-step instructions on the fabrication of porcelain butt margins. You will find that problems often associated with porcelain butt margins, such as shoulder porcelain sticking to the die or rounded margins, can be easily avoided. Ultimately, you will also find that beautiful, vital porcelain margins can be rewarding for the ceramist, the doctor, and the patient alike. Tooth margin preparation. To ensure adequate porcelain strength and color, the tooth should have a 90-degree shoulder preparation or a deep chamfer. A minimal reduction of 1.5 millimeters is preferred. Substructure design. Extend the facial surface of the metal substructure so the metal ends at the axial gingival corner of the shoulder preparation or extends slightly onto the gingival edge. Opaque procedure. Apply and fire the ultrapaque or paint opaque opaquing porcelain using your normal procedures. Dye preparation. Using the edge dye sealer pen, depress the pen tip to activate or wet the pen if necessary. Be careful not to oversaturate the tip. Apply the sealer in a thin, even layer over the margin area. Do not allow the dye sealer to puddle on the die. Blow off any excess dye sealer and allow the sealer to dry. Always place the cap tightly back on the pen when finished to avoid drying. Mark the facial margin with a wax pencil. Next, using the edge dye lubricant pen, depress the pen tip to activate or wet the tip if necessary. Again, be careful. Do not oversaturate. Apply the lubricant in a thin, even layer over the margin area. Do not allow the lubricant to puddle on the die. Blow off any excess dye lubricant. Place the cap tightly back on the pen when finished. First, shoulder application. The edge system includes 4 chroma opacifier pastes key to the shade ranges. These can be used when greater opacity is desired at the margin. First, place the coping on the sealed and lubricated die. If the chroma opacifier is indicated, express a small amount of the chroma opacifier paste onto a clean palette. To avoid waste, do not express more material than necessary. Firmly place the cap back on the syringe tip to prevent drying. Moisten, but do not overwet, the brush or instrument with universal sculpting liquid. The shoulder porcelain may be thinned out with a small amount of universal sculpting liquid. Do not use excess liquid. This lengthens the dry time, prevents the shoulder porcelain from lifting cleanly from the die, and creates porosity. Apply a thin underlayer of the chroma opacifier paste to the facial margin area. Allow the opacifier to dry for about 2 minutes before applying the prescribed shade. Next, or first if the opacifier is not indicated, express a small amount of the selected shade of shoulder paste. Remember, always replace caps to avoid drying. Again, the shoulder porcelain may be thinned out with a small amount of universal sculpting liquid. Do not use excess liquid. If modifier is needed, express a small amount on the palette and mix with the shoulder porcelain shade. Using a moist but not over wet brush or instrument, apply the shoulder porcelain to the margin area and over the opacifier if present. The goal is to only build the facial margin. Do not build a thick layer of shoulder porcelain. If ultra-opaque opaquing porcelain is used, insulate the opaque layer to prevent the ultra-opaque enhanced crystals from becoming overfired. To do this, apply a very thin wash layer of shoulder porcelain over the remaining opaque surface. This preserves the crystal's shape. Allow the shoulder porcelain to dry completely. About 5 minutes is recommended. The porcelain surface will be chalky and hard. Do not use warm air to accelerate the drying process. This creates porosity. Remove the coping from the die. If additional material is needed, simply re-lubricate the die with the pen and reseat the coping. Then, dispense and apply the additional material. Fire according to the recommended temperatures in your instruction manual. Firing temperatures are guidelines. Adjustments might be required for your furnace. The opaque is always fired at the highest temperature. Edge shoulder porcelain is always fired above or at the same temperature as the body porcelain. If your furnace does not have a dry and preheat setting, dry the restoration for a total of 10 minutes. A properly fired porcelain shoulder will have a shiny yet grainy appearance. Second shoulder application. Be sure the margin of the die is clean and reapply the die lubricant in a thin coat. Express a small amount of the shoulder porcelain on a clean palette. Again, firmly place the cap back on the syringe tip. With the coping off the die, use a moist brush or an instrument to place a small amount of shoulder porcelain on the bottom edge of the shoulder margin. If necessary, the shoulder porcelain may be thinned out with a small amount of universal sculpting liquid. Remember to avoid excess liquid. With the shoulder porcelain mixture still wet, firmly place the coping on the die. Remove any excess paste. Allow the paste to dry completely. About 5 minutes is recommended. The porcelain surface will be chalky and hard. Lift the coping off the die and use a brush or instrument to clean any porcelain from the inside of the coping. Then fire according to the recommended instructions. After your restoration is built up, fire in the Phoenix porcelain furnace using recommended techniques. Contour and complete the restoration in your normal manner. Add-on and glaze shoulder technique. If a correction is necessary at this point, use the edge add-on porcelain. To glaze, simply use an overglaze or a natural glaze. Be sure the margin of the die is clean, then reapply a thin coat of the die lubricant. Express a small amount of the add-on shoulder porcelain on a clean palette. Firmly place the cap back on the syringe tip. With the coping off the die, use a brush or an instrument to place a small amount of add-on shoulder porcelain on the bottom edge of the shoulder margin. If necessary, the add-on shoulder porcelain may be thinned out with a very small amount of universal sculpting liquid. With the add-on shoulder porcelain mixture still wet, firmly place the coping on the die. Smooth the add-on area with a damp brush. Allow the add-on porcelain paste to dry completely. Recommended dry time is about 5 minutes. The porcelain surface will be chalky and hard. Remove the coping from the dye. Apply stain and overglaze as desired. A natural glaze may also be used. Do not allow the stain medium to become mixed with add-on shoulder porcelain, as this will cause discoloration. Fire according to the normal Ceramco 2 or Ceramco 2 Silver firing temperatures for glazing. And there you have it. A procedure that is quick and easy, and a restoration that is aesthetically and anatomically pleasing as well. Summary. Now let's take a moment to review the important steps in the edge shoulder porcelain procedure. Step 1. Tooth margin preparation. A 90-degree shoulder preparation or a deep chamfer is required. Step 2. Substructure design. Extend the facial surface of the metal substructure so the metal ends at the axial gingival corner of the shoulder preparation, or extend slightly onto the gingival edge. Step 3. Opaque procedure. Apply and fire the ultra-opaque opaquing porcelain or paint opaque porcelain using your normal procedures. Step 4. Dye preparation. Apply the sealer and then the lubricant in a thin, even layer over the margin. Step 5. Chroma opacifier. If required, apply a thin layer of the chroma opacifier to the facial margin and let dry. Step 6. First shoulder application. Apply the edge shoulder porcelain to the facial margin and cover the ultra-opaque opaquing porcelain with a thin wash. Allow this to dry thoroughly, then fire at the proper firing schedule. Step 7. Second shoulder application. Apply the edge shoulder porcelain to the margin and place the coping on the lubricated dye. Remove from the dye and fire. Step 8. Body incisal buildup and firing. Build up and fire using normal techniques and procedures. Step 9. Glaze and add-on shoulder technique. If required, apply the edge add-on shoulder porcelain to the margin and place the coping on the die. Glaze and fire. Step 10. Completed crown. And here is the completed crown. Edge shoulder porcelain was designed to eliminate metal show-through at the margin and to reduce the chance of tissue discoloration and over-contouring. The crown looks great and the patient feels great. You and your laboratory have provided a successful restoration with natural, long-lasting beauty. Detailed information and firing schedules are available in the Edge Shoulder Porcelain Instruction Manual. If you have any questions or need assistance, please contact Ceramco's Technical Support Department at 1-800-487-0100 in the United States and Canada, or for international customers, contact your local dealer. This program was brought to you by Ceramco.